The Senate will come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Senators Baisley,
Excused.
Bridges, Buckner,
Excused.
Coleman, Cutter, Danielson, Exum, Fields, Gardner, Janal,
Excused.
Gonzalez,
Excused.
Hanson, Henriksen, Huckes Lewis, Kirkmeyer, Kolker, Liston, Lundin, Marchman, Michelson Janae, Malika, Senator Malika,
Absent.
Pelton B, Pelton R, Priola, Rich, Roberts,
Excused.
Rodriguez, Simpson, Smallwood, Sullivan, Van Winkle, Will, Winter, Zenzinger,
Oh, I just wanted to see if Malika came in. Only Malika.
Senator Malika. Mr. President,
Here. Will the clerk please mark Senator Malika is here and not absent as I marked him because of his tardiness. The roll call is 30 present, 0 absent, 5 excused. We do have a quorum. Senator Van Winkle, would you please lead us in the pledge?
Yes, Mr. President. Thank you. Members, would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of the journal. Senator Exum.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate Journal of February 14th, 2024 be approved as corrected by the Secretary.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is adopted. Senate Services.
February 15, 2024, correctly engrossed Senate Bills 6, 1774, and 105, correctly revised. House Bills 1180, 1181, 1182, 1183, 1184, 1185, 1186, 1187, 1188, 1189, 1190, 1191, 1192, 1193, 1194, 1195, 1196, 1197, 1198, 1199, 1200, 1201, 1202, 1203, 1204, 1205, 1206, 1207, 1208, 1209, 1210, 1211, 1212, 1213, 1214, and 1215.
Committee reports.
February 14, 2024, Committee on Transportation and Energy. After consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following: Senate Bill 128 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation and with the recommendation to be placed on the consent calendar. Committee on Transportation and Energy has had under consideration, has had a hearing on the following appointments and recommends that the appointments be conferred members of the Colorado Energy Research Authority effective July 2, 2023 for terms expiring July 1, 2027. William Tour of Boulder, Colorado, reappointed. Mark Cirangello of Lafayette, Colorado, reappointed.
Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate proceed out of order for a moment of personal privilege.
The motion is to proceed out of order for a moment of personal privilege. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is adopted. The Senate will now proceed out of order. Senator Henriksen.
Thank you, Mr. President. May I have a moment of personal privilege?
Granted.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, I am really pleased to be joined here by the Leadership Pueblo class of 2024. Leadership Pueblo is a program put on by the Greater Pueblo Chamber of Commerce. It is a 5-month program for leaders in industry to come together, to network, and to learn about the challenges and opportunities facing Pueblo and the ways that they can be involved to make our community an even better place to live. And I am so happy to have them here. If you have a chance, please come to the back corner and say hello.
Members, let's please welcome the big crowd that we have all the way from down south in Pueblo, the Pueblo leadership folks, and we will also be standing at a brief recess to greet them, but let's welcome them to the chamber. The Senate will stand in a brief recess to greet our guests. The Senate will come back to order. Senator Cutter.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am honored today to be able to welcome CASA, Court-Appointed Special Advocates. There are 18 organizations across our state that serve our most vulnerable children, those navigating the court system because of abuse and neglect. The power of the work of these advocates cannot be understated and is felt across each of our communities. They ensure their safety, access to resources, and reliable confidence in these children's lives. Thousands have benefited from their commitment, and many more still need a CASA. Take time today to learn more about the incredible work they do on behalf of our state. Just a few quick facts. Nearly 2,000 CASA volunteers are in Colorado. More than 4,800 Colorado children were served last year. but that means 55% of children are still waiting for an advocate. Cases average about 18 months, with children ranging from newborn to 18 years old. And 50% of CASA volunteers are employed full-time and come from a variety of professional, educational, and ethnic background. CASA is an amazing organization. I know many of you know about it, but take time to welcome our guests over there today and appreciate what they do. Thank you.
Senator March.
Thank you, Mr. President. I asked for a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Thank you. I would just like to recognize the members of the Colorado Speech Language Hearing Association who are with us also today. If you would stand, that would be great. Speech language pathologists assess and treat people who have speech language voice and fluency disorders. They are often referred to as SLPs, and they are experts in communication and work with people of all ages, from babies to adults. So thank you for being here.
Senator Kirkmeyer.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think as many of you know that I have a grandson who has apraxia, which is a speech issue and a speech challenge. And so speech pathologists play an important role in the lives of my grandchild and many people's children and grandchildren. And it's extremely important that we have these folks in our system and that we are funding them appropriately. And it's one of the reasons why myself and the good senator from Jefferson County have fought so hard to get additional dollars to special education and make sure that we are funding at an appropriate level so these children, whether they have speech issues or autism or dyslexia or whatever it is, that they get the resources they need. But I am so excited to see them all here and be able to welcome them to our floor. And by the way, those of you who are chewing gum, it was from these ladies. And I connected with about 15 people. Thank you very much. So thank you.
Thank you.
Senator Kirkmeyer will be fined 25 cents for not asking for a moment of personal privilege, but I will credit you because of the stick of gum you gave me.
Sheep.
Senator Bridges.
Thank you, Mr. President. May I have a moment of personal privilege?
Granted.
I don't have any gum, so thank you. When I was growing up until about third grade, I couldn't say my R's, which is tough for a kid named Jeff Bridges. So thanks to speech pathologists, I learned "lr," and now I can say my R's. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you very much.
Third reading of bills. Consent calendar. Will the clerk please read the titles of all of the bills on the consent calendar?
Senate Bill 74, Senator Gardner, Representative Weissman, concerning concurrent jurisdiction over United States military property. Senate Bill 105, Senator Hinrichsen, Representatives Epson McLaughlin, concerning clarifications to the fees imposed by the Department of Revenue related to fuel products. House Bill 1180, Representative Byrd, Senator Zenziger, concerning a supplemental appropriation to the Department of Agriculture. House Bill 1182, Representative Byrd, Senator Zenziger, concerning a supplemental appropriation to the Department of Early Childhood. House Bill 1183, Representative Byrd, Senator Zenziger, concerning a supplemental appropriation to the Department of Education. House Bill 1184, Representative Byrd, Senator Zenziger, concerning a supplemental appropriation to the offices of the Governor, Lieutenant Governor, and State Planning and Budgeting. House Bill 1185, Representative Byrd, Senator Zenziger, concerning a supplemental appropriation to the Department of Healthcare Policy and Financing. House Bill 1186, Representative Byrd, Senator Zenziger, concerning a supplemental appropriation to the Department of Higher Education. House Bill 1188, Representative Byrd, Senator Zenziger, concerning a supplemental appropriation to the Judicial Department. House Bill 1190, Representative Byrd, Senator Zenziger, concerning a supplemental appropriation to the Department of Law. House Bill 1192, Representative Byrd, Senator Zenziger, concerning a supplemental appropriation to the Department of Local Affairs. House Bill 1193, Representative Byrd, Senator Zenziger, concerning a supplemental appropriation to the Department of Military and Veterans Affairs. House Bill 1194, Representative Byrd, Senator Zenziger, concerning a supplemental appropriation to the Department of Natural Resources. House Bill 1195, Representative Byrd, Senator Zenziger, concerning a supplemental appropriation to the Department of Personnel. House Bill 1201, Representative Byrd, Senator Zenziger, Zenzinger, concerning a supplemental appropriation to the Department of Transportation. House Bill 1202, Representative Byrd, Senator Zenzinger, concerning a supplemental appropriation to the Department of the Treasury. House Bill 1203, Representative Byrd, Senator Zenzinger, concerning funding for capital construction and making supplemental appropriations in connection therewith. House Bill 1204, Representative Byrd, Senator Zenzinger, concerning funding for capital construction, information technology, and making supplemental appropriations in connection therewith. House Bill 1205, Representative Sirota and Taggart, Senators Zenzinger and Kirkmeyer, concerning modifications to the Colorado Imagination Library Program to enhance early childhood literacy. House Bill 1206, Representatives Byrd and Sirota, Senators Kirkmeyer and Zenzinger, concerning including certain schools as types of school food authorities and in connection therewith making an appropriation. House Bill 1208, Representatives Byrd and Sirota, Senators Bridges and Kirkmeyer, concerning transfers to the Autism Treatment Fund. House Bill 1209, Representatives Sirota and Taggart, Senators Zenzinger and Kirkmeyer, concerning creation of the America 250 Colorado 150 Cash Fund. House Bill 1210, Representatives Byrd and Taggart, Senators Kirkmeyer and Zenzinger, concerning extending the deadline for the Colorado Commission on Higher Education statewide longitudinal data system report, and in connection therewith, extending a related existing appropriation. House Bill 1211, Representatives Taggart and Sirota, Senators Zenzinger and Kirkmeyer, concerning the establishment of the state funding for senior services contingency reserve fund, and in connection therewith making an appropriation. House Bill 1212, Representatives Sirota and Taggart, Senators Bridges and Kirkmeyer, concerning entities serving the new 23rd Judicial District. House Bill 1214, Representatives Byrd and Taggart, Senators Bridges and Kirkmeyer, concerning community crime victims funding, and in connection therewith reducing and making an appropriation.
Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, House Bill 1204 has been requested to be removed from the consent calendar. It will be moved to the end of third reading of bills. On that note, Mr. President, I move for the passage of all the bills on third reading of bills consent calendar, which includes Senate Bill 74, 105, House Bill 1180, 1182, 1183, 1184, 1185, 1186, 1188, 1190, 1192, 1193, 1194, 1195, 1201, 1202, 1203, 1205, 1206, 1208, 1209, 1210, 1211, 1212, 1213, and 1214.
Is there any discussion on any of the bills? Seeing none, the motion is the passage of all of the bills on the third reading of bills consent calendar. Are there any no votes? Senator Van Winkle.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request to be recorded as a no vote on the following bills: House Bill 1182, House Bill 1195, House Bill 1205, House Bill 1209, House Bill 1210, and House Bill 1213.
Senator Van Winkle will be recorded as a no vote on House Bills 1182, 1195, 1205, 1209, 1210, and 1213. With a vote of 30 ayes, with a vote of 30 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 5 excused, Senate Bill 74 is passed. Co-sponsors. With a vote of 30 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 5 excused, Senate Bill 105 is passed. Co-sponsors. Priola. With a vote of 30 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 5 excused, House Bill 1180 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senators Priola, Michelson Janae, Cutter, with a vote of 29 ayes, 1 no, 0 absent, 5 excused, House Bill 1182 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senators Jaquez Lewis, Priola, Cutter, Michelson Janae, Exum, with a vote of 30 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 5 excused, House Bill 1183 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senators Cutter, Priola, Michelson Janae, Jaquez Lewis, Exum, with a vote of 30 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 5 excused, House Bill 1184 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senators Priola, with a vote of 30 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 5 excused, House Bill 1185 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senators Michelson Janae, Cutter, Priola, Exum, with a vote of 30 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 5 excused, House Bill 1186 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senators Exum, Priola, Jaquez Lewis, Michelson Janae, Cutter, with a vote of 30 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 5 excused, House Bill 1188 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senators Priola, with a vote of 30 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 5 excused, House Bill 1190 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senators Priola, with a vote of 30 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 5 excused, House Bill 1192 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senators Priola, with a vote of 30 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 5 excused, House Bill 1193 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senators Priola, Michelson Janae, Cutter, Liston, with a vote of 193. Senator Exum, were you a co-sponsor on 1193? Yes. With a vote of 30 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 5 excused, House Bill 1194 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senators Cutter, Will. Last call. Priola. With a vote of 29 ayes, 1 no, 0 absent, 5 excused, House Bill 1195 is passed. Co-sponsors. With a vote of 30 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, 5 excused, House Bill 1201 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senators Michelson, Janae, Cutter.
Do you know that it has a 0 appropriation? Just saying. We did, for real-time billing.
Priola.
Yes, he does. He knows it's transportation. He cares about transportation.
With a vote of 30 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, 5 excused, House Bill 1202 is passed. Co-sponsors. Priola. Got to support the Department of the Treasury. With a vote of 30 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, 5 excused, House Bill 1203 is passed. Senators Cutter, Henriksen, Priola, Michelson, Janae, Mullica, with a vote of 29 ayes, 1 no, 0 absent, 5 excused, House Bill 1205 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senators Priola, Michelson, Janae, Cutter, Henriksen. This is House Bill 1205. Exum, Mullica. Please add the president. My kids love Imagination Library. With a vote of 30 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, 5 excused, House Bill 1206 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senators Henriksen, Priola, Cutter. Senator Michelson, Janae, do you want to be Michelson, Janae? Exum. With a vote of 30 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, 5 excused, House Bill 1208 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senators Henriksen, Priola, Cutter, Michelson, Janae, Exum. With a vote of 29 ayes, 1 no, 0 absent, 5 excused, House Bill 1209 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senators Priola.
That says America 250 on it?
With a vote of 29 ayes, 1 no, 0 absent, 5 excused, House Bill 1210 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senators Michelson, Janae, Cutter, Priola, with a vote of 30 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, 5 excused, House Bill 1211 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senators Henriksen, Cutter, Priola, Michelson, Janae, Exum, Mullica, Liston, Will,
This is an emergency contingency fund for elderly. The Area Agency on Aging.
me? There will be no lobbying on the Senate floor. Providing sticks of gum is fine to the good senator from Weld County, but where are we? With a vote of, did we already? With a vote of 30 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, 5 excused, House Bill 1212 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senators Liston, Priola, Gardner, Van Winkle. With a vote of 29 ayes, 1 no, 0 absent, 5 excused, House Bill 1213 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senators Priola, with a vote of 30 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, 5 excused, House Bill 1214 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senators Henriksen, Michelson Janae, Cutter, Priola, Fields, Exum, Van Winkle. Mr. Minority Leader. Coleman. Third reading of bills. Final passage.
Yeah. Can you hurry up? Mr. President?
This actually get through this real quick. 2 weeks ago, a week ago. They had medication on hand, but they wouldn't let her take it with her. Yeah. No, I understand the joke.
Pineapple flavored pop.
Let's do our, we'll do our picture while we're waiting.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna get Adam as well. Yeah. Oh, Jesus.
Senators, it is a little dry in here. If anybody needs some lotion, it will be up here. Feel free to use it. It's topical only. It is not a full bottle. It's a partial bottle. And third reading of bills. Will the clerk please read the title to Senate Bill 87?
Senate Bill 87, Senators Mullica and Will, Representatives Doherty and Bradfield, concerning the provision of a facility-provided topical medication to a patient for the continuity of the patient's treatment after a surgical procedure.
Senator Mullica.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move Senate Bill 87 on third reading and final passage.
Is there any discussion? I sure hope so. Senator Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, I just want to be assured that this bill will cover topical preparations with emollients in them. Will those preparations that have emollients, not emoluments, that's a different thing, will they be covered?
Senator Malika.
And will it be covered in a soft way?
Senator Malika, we're going to need a response.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. Yes.
Any further discussion on the lotion bill? See none. The motion before the body is the passage of Senate Bill 87. Are there any no votes? Wow. With a vote of 30 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, 5 excused, Senate Bill 87 is passed. Senators Kirkmeyer, Gardner. If the adding the current roll call as the co-sponsor would be an appropriate motion if the sponsor would prefer. But instead, I'll keep going through the entire list. Senator Rich, Mr. Minority Leader, Bridges, Van Winkle, Smallwood, Liston, Hanson, Fields, Winter, Rodriguez, Colker, Marchman, Cutter, Priola, Jaquez Lewis, Michelson Janae, Coleman, will the clerk please read the title to Senate Bill 6?
Senate Bill 6, Senators Rodriguez and Fields, Representatives English and Bradfield, considering factors related to the capability to participate in the judicial process in determining whether to place a person into a pretrial diversion program.
Senator Fields.
Good morning, Mr. President. We move Senate Bill 006 on third reading and final passage.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the motion is the passage of Senate Bill 6. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 30 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, 5 excused, Senate Bill 6 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Senators Priola, Cutter, Winter, Michelson Janae, will the clerk please add Senator Exum as a co-sponsor? Will the clerk please read the title to House Bill 1181?
House Bill 1181, Representative Byrd, Senator Zenzinger, concerning a supplemental appropriation to the Department of Corrections.
Senator Zenzinger.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move House Bill 1181, and I ask for your aye vote.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the motion is the passage of House Bill 1181. Are there any no votes? Senators Van Winkle, Will, Rich, Gardner, Mr. Minority Leader, Smallwood, Liston, Pelton B, Pelton R, Simpson. With a vote of 20 ayes, 10 noes, 0 absent, 5 excused, House Bill 1181 is passed. Co-sponsors. Will the clerk please read the title to House Bill 1187?
House Bill 1187, Representative Byrd, Senator Zenzinger, concerning a supplemental appropriation to the Department of Human Services.
Senator Zenzinger.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move House Bill 1187 and ask for your aye vote.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of House Bill 1187. Are there any no votes? Senators Van Winkle, Smallwood, Pelton B, Pelton R, with a vote of, please add the minority leader as a no vote.
All that money for competency?
With a vote of 25 ayes, 5 noes, 0 absent, 5 excused, House Bill 1187 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senators Cutter,
This addresses competency.
Michelson, Janay.
Like a lot of money for competency.
Will the clerk please read the title to House Bill 1189?
House Bill 1189, Representative Byrd, Senator Zenzinger, concerning a supplemental appropriation to the Department of Labor and Employment.
Senator Zenzinger.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move House Bill 1189 and ask for your aye vote.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of House Bill 1189. Are there any no votes? Senators Pelton R, Pelton B, Rich, Smallwood, Gardner, Mr. Minority Leader, Liston, with a vote of 23 ayes, 7 no, 0 absent, 5 excused, House Bill 1189 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senators Priola, will the clerk please read the title to House Bill 1191?
House Bill 1191, Representative Byrd, Senator Zenzinger, concerning a supplemental appropriation to the Department of Legislature.
Senator Zenzinger.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move House Bill 1191 and I ask for your aye vote.
Is there any discussion? Senator Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, members, recall that I offered an amendment yesterday to remove 30 days of funding for this legislative session. I was unsuccessful, as always, because people love being here with me so much that they resoundingly reject that amendment when I offer it every year. But I'm going to ask you on the 91st day that we're here if you might want to rethink it, but it'll be too late. Vote however you wish on this. Thank you.
Seeing no further discussion, the motion before the body is the adoption of House Bill 1191. Are there any no votes? Senators Will, Rich, Gardner, Mr. Minority Leader, Smallwood, Liston, Pelton B, Pelton R, Van Winkle, with a vote of 21 ayes, 9 noes, 0 absent, 5 excused, House Bill 1191 is passed. Co-sponsors, Senators Priola, Michelson, Janay, Cutter,
Legislature. 1.
Hanson. Will the clerk please read the title to House Bill 1196?
House Bill 1196, Representative Byrd, Senator Zenzinger, concerning a supplemental appropriation to the Department of Public Health and Environment.
Senator Zenzinger.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move House Bill 1196 and I ask for your aye vote.
Is there any discussion? Senator Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, members, you know, these supplemental packages are described, the bills are described in this book that you have, and there's a lot of stuff there, and I keep falling asleep every evening when I read it, but just before I fell asleep a few evenings ago, I noticed, and literally that was the case, I'm not making that up. Just before I fell asleep a few evenings ago, I saw on page 48 that described this bill, I saw lawn equipment electrification grant renewal. The bill includes a $1.3 million general fund appropriation to appropriate funds to the department, that's CDPHE, that it reverted at the end of FY 22-23 in order to complete grant payments awarded and under contract via the Lawn and Garden Equipment Electrification Grant Program. The program was created in FY 2022-23 through the department's R1 Air Quality Transformation request. However, the department was only able to spend a portion of that money in FY 22-23 due to complications with program implementation. So in FY 22-23, we say $1.3 million to grant people so they'll quit using gas mowers and gas trimmers. And then this is just like one more thing in the budgeting process of which budgeting is policy, and policy drives the budget as well. And I urge a no vote just for this alone. Thank you.
Senator Lundin.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Colleagues, I want to call out what I believe is a recurring theme of this session and sessions as we move forward. We are experiencing, and we're seeing right here in what the good senator from El Paso County just spoke about, reality catching up with ideology. We have an idea that we should be doing something, and we're going to do it through the coercive power of government. We're going to force it upon the people. We're going to do something that they may or may not want, and over time they might adopt it on their own anyway, but they're not ready for it. And quite frankly, frequently the science doesn't completely support it, but we are getting there ahead of the curve because it's ideologically appropriate to do so. So this theme of reality catching up with ideology over and over again we will be seeing. Now, I'm going to limit this specifically to this particular element. Money that was pushed into government, CDPHE, Department of Health and Environment, to encourage people to do something they're not inclined to do, and we pull it back. Reality has caught up with ideology. Now, there will be other bills, and I won't take time to go into them now, where we are doing things that we think will solve a problem, but the science doesn't properly support it. So the theme of reality catching up with ideology and foundering or failing or fumbling is present and visible in this very specific part of this very specific supplemental. Thank you, Mr. President.
It's up to you.
Senator Zenzi.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, this is a supplemental budget request. It's relatively agnostic with regard to the policy. It's a budget action that we have to do at this point in session, at this point in the year, at this point in our budgeting cycle. We already approved the policy. We already approved the money. The money was put into our budget. And what we're doing today is we are rolling forward the authority to spend the money that we've already said we want to spend in our budget. The reason why we have to do that is because there were complications with program implementation. It doesn't say why or how or all of the different considerations that might be driving that. It's a function of budgeting that we have to do at this point in our budget cycle. So I appreciate the comments that were made about the originating policy, except that we're not here to debate that. We're here to debate the fact that this is a typical, ordinary process that we do every year in order to shore up our budget actions to match reality.
Senator Bridges.
Thank you, Mr. President. I love all of the references to reality. And the references, thanks so much. Yes, indeed. The references to reality. So, I thankfully no longer speak that way, although I did for many years, and appreciate all of the help that was given so that I don't speak that way. Friends, reality in this case is the unfortunate buzzsaw that these arguments are going to run into, an electrically powered buzzsaw, I might add. So, the claim is that government, we, the big bad state, forced electrification onto folks. We didn't. We said, here's a pot of money, local governments, if you want to electrify, great. Here's some money to help you do it. If you don't, continue using your gas-powered lawnmowers that make it all the way around those trees, if that's what you would like to do. In this case, the JBC, that caucus across the street, as the minority leader referred to it, who actually knows what happened with this request, unlike some of the folks that maybe were paying less attention to what's happening across the street. The JBC actually voted no on this request. They came to us and they said, you know, we didn't spend this money. And we went, yeah, you didn't spend the money. We're not just going to, you don't just get to, like, if nobody wanted it. We made this pot of money. We said, local governments, you can have it if you want. If nobody wanted it, why would we give you more time to spend it? It looks to us like nobody wants it, as was said here. Now, the buzzsaw of reality on this is that people did want it. The buzzsaw of reality is that it's COVID, it is supply chain issues, it is timing that caused these funds to not be expended within the originally allocated time period. It is not a lack of demand. And in fact, the department came back and said, here are all of the folks that we already promised to give this money to. They want it. They want to electrify. And the legislature, all of us, this body, had already created this pot of money. This is not new money. This is not a new policy. This is not any change to what we've already done. This is just saying the decision that we made to say to local governments, we will help you make this change if you want, took a little longer because of unforeseen circumstances. Circumstances we didn't foresee here, circumstances the department didn't foresee, circumstances the local governments didn't foresee. And all this bill is saying in this particular piece is we're going to give the local governments who want this money and who we have already promised this money to a little more time to get it. This money will be not just encumbered, it will actually be expended by the end of this roll forward authority that we have provided here. It is not new money. It is not forcing changes on anyone. It is simply ensuring that promises the state has already made are fulfilled.
Senator Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, you know, I had a bill in committee yesterday, and I don't want to talk about the bill, but it invoked the terms misinformation and disinformation, and what was the difference? And I think this is just misinformation that's being stated down here in the well, not deliberate attempts, but, you know, just because this money got appropriated in a prior year, we don't have to reappropriate the money. We don't have to do that. I mean, the statement's been made, well, we appropriated this in a prior year and it didn't get spent. We have to do this as part of the budget process. We have to do it. We don't have to do that. The money didn't get spent. And by the way, we all, each and every one of us, didn't decide this was a good idea. Yes, the collective body on a majority vote did, but I didn't look up my vote on that prior legislation, but I'm guessing I was a no. I'm guessing I thought it was a really bad idea for FY 22-23, and I think it's a really bad idea now. And government, there's another theme. The minority leader talked about the theme of reality meeting, ideology meeting reality. You know, a recurring theme in this set of supplementals, maybe it's always been there and I've just been too dense to see it, is competence in government or incompetence in government, inability to deal with things meets budget realities and ask for more money or ask for the reappropriation of the money. And there's always a reason. It's COVID, or it's the computer, or there was so much of it. But don't be mistaken when you look at these supplementals and they say, well, the money reverted and it can't be spent. But that money's already there. Well, I venture to guess that you don't do your business budget or your ranch budget or which is a business, or your personal budget that way of, well, I didn't spend all of that money that I had budgeted, so I'm gonna, because that wasn't as good an idea as I thought it was, or we couldn't spend it all. I'm gonna spend it all for the thing I couldn't spend it all for again. We don't have to do this. I mean, we may do this. There may be 18 votes. I'm guessing there'll be 18 or more votes for this bill and to reappropriate this money. But if we didn't, if this bill had been amended on seconds and that taken out, the world would go on, that program wouldn't, and there would have been a decision by the General Assembly that, you know what? That money didn't need to be spent there because it couldn't all get spent anyway. Everybody woke up later. If you go out there and you market money giveaway, it's a grant program. If you market a money giveaway long enough, you'll be able to give it away. If you have a government program out there, actually, we've learned in recent weeks, if you're not careful, you'll need to enact legislation to bar or suspend people from defrauding. Government programs with government money will ultimately, with enough time, they'll get spent. And if they don't, we'll come back and we'll reappropriate it for something else and spend it again. We won't put it in the reserve fund. We won't use it to do something that really has a serious need, like fixing the budget stabilization factor, perhaps. Members, you don't have to do this. And because it is in the bill, I'm going to vote no to send a message that, we don't have to reappropriate everything just because we appropriated it at a prior time. It's a second policy decision in front of a different group of people at a different time in a different place. You don't have to do it. Vote no.
Senator Kirkmeyer.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, just real quickly. The JBC was very judicious with regard to this supplemental request, and in fact, we voted no. The department came back in with a comeback, which is allowable, and it's the process that we follow. And what our requirements were from the JBC, we were being very fiscally prudent on this, just want you all to know, was to assure us that the funds were going to be expended, or why were they not being expended already. From the time that they submitted the supplemental request to the time of our hearing, to the time of the comeback, the department was able to justify to us and demonstrate to us that they had substantially, while not expending the funds, had substantially encumbered and contracted almost all of the funding, if not all of the funding. So that is why on the return and on the comeback that the JBC voted for it. So again, agree, I appreciate all the comments from my colleagues that we need to be prudent and we need to hold departments accountable. And in this case, we did hold them accountable. The reason for the length and the gaps in the contracting had to do with supply chain and things dealing with the local government that were beyond their control. So again, at the comeback, the funds essentially are all under contract, and that is why I voted to go ahead and say that the funding should still stay there so that they could get out their contracts and get the money expended. Encumbered, contracted, now they're just going to get it expended. Thank you. I urge and I vote on this supplemental.
The motion is the passage of House Bill 1196. Are there any no votes? Senators Van Winkle, Will, Rich, Gardner, Mr. Minority Leader, Smallwood, Liston, Pelton B, Pelton R. With a vote of 21 ayes, 9 noes, 0 absent, 5 excused, House Bill 1196 is passed. Co-sponsors, Senators Michelson, Janae, Hansen, Fields, Winter, Exum. Please add the president. Will the clerk please read the title to House Bill 1197?
House Bill 1197, Representative Byrd, Senator Zenziger, concerning a supplemental appropriation to the Department of Public Safety.
Senator Zenziger.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move House Bill 1197.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the motion before the body is House Bill 1197. Are there any no votes? Senators Van Winkle, Rich, Gardner, Kirkmeyer, Smallwood, Liston, Pelton B, Pelton R, Simpson, Will, Mr. Minority Leader. With a
House Bill 1198, Representative Byrd, Senator Zenziger, concerning a supplemental appropriation to the Department of Regulatory Agencies.
Senator Zenziger.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move House Bill 1198 and ask for your aye vote.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of House Bill 1198. Are there any no votes? Senators Van Winkle, Will, Rich, Gardner, Mr. Minority Leader, Smallwood, Liston, Pelton B, Pelton R. With a vote of 21 ayes, 9 noes, 0 absent, 5 excused, House Bill 1198 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senators Priola, will the clerk please read the title to House Bill 1199?
House Bill 1199, Representative Byrd, Senator Zenzinger, concerning a supplemental appropriation to the Department of Revenue.
Senator Zenzinger.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move House Bill 1199.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of House Bill 1199. Are there any no votes? Senators Van Winkle, Will, Rich, Gardner, Mr. Minority Leader, Smallwood, Liston, Pelton B, Pelton R. With a vote of 21 ayes, 9 noes, 0 absent, 5 excused, House Bill 1199 is passed. Co-sponsors. Will the clerk please read the title to House Bill 1200?
House Bill 1200, Representative Byrd, Senator Zenzinger, concerning a supplemental appropriation to the Department of State.
Senator Zenzinger.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move House Bill 1200.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of House Bill 1200. Are there any no votes? Senators Van Winkle, Will, Rich, Gardner, Mr. Minority Leader, Smallwood, Liston, Pelton B, Pelton R, Simpson. With a vote of 20 ayes, 10 noes, 0 absent, 5 excused, House Bill 1200 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senators Priola. Will the clerk please read the title to House Bill 1207?
House Bill 1207, Representatives Byrd and Sirota, Senators Zenzinger and Kirkmeyer, concerning adjustments to the school funding for the 2023 budget year and in connection therewith reducing an appropriation.
Senator Zenzinger.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move House Bill 1207.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the motion before the body is House Bill 1207. Are there any no votes? Senators Pelton B.
No.
No.
No votes.
Is there no votes on House Bill 1207? With a vote of 29 ayes, 1 no, 0 absent, 5 excused, House Bill 1207 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senators Fields, Exum, Mr. Minority Leader, Priola, will the clerk please read the title to House Bill 1215?
House Bill 1215, Representatives Byrd and Sirota, Senators Bridges and Kirkmeyer, concerning transfers to the Capital Construction Fund.
Senator Kirkmeyer.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move House Bill 24-1215 on third reading and ask for an aye vote.
Is there any discussion? Senator Hansen.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Members, we had a really important discussion about House Bill 1215 in both the Joint Technology Committee as well as Senate Appropriations a couple days ago. And I think it's important to share with the entire body what's happening inside of 1215. To remove all doubt, I am supportive of moving forward with this bill. But a big piece of this bill, about 3.3 million of it, is an emergency supplemental, mid-year adjustment to the budget of 3.3 million for Department of for the Universal Pre-K program. And they're essentially asking for a doubling of their IT budget. So that, of course, raises eyebrows out of the gate. Why would you need a supplemental that would be twice as big as the original appropriation for the IT work for this set of programs? And we started with a little bit of skepticism, given the size of the request. Inside of that request is a bunch of very important work. Make it easier for the providers, make it easier for the parents to utilize this program. That's great. I'm very supportive of that. My worry was that we had a very large increase to the budget in a very short amount of time. Can we even get this work done in a way that fits with the supplemental process that has to be done in the 23-24 fiscal year? So that's where the conversation really narrowed in on. And I had a chance to spend more time with the department talking about that very issue. And I want to share with the body that we're going to be getting quarterly updates on this project. I'm fine moving forward with 1215 today. This is vital work for our constituents so that they can utilize this new program, so that providers have an easier time using this program. But we have, I think, some real IT project implementation issues, exactly what you have hired the JTC to look at. And the JBC went with a different approach in their final drafting of 1215. And that's fine, and we've had a great conversation about that. But I want to share with the whole body that JTC will have quarterly updates. We'll make sure that this is progressing on time and on budget, and the deliverables that are promised are going to reach the important providers and parents that need these services. So that's embedded in 1215. I wanted to make sure folks are aware of that discussion. I want to make sure folks are aware of the oversight that both JTC and JBC will be providing on this allocation if 1215 passes today. And I appreciate your extra attention on this important bill.
Senator Kirkmeyer.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, I urge an aye vote on this. And I'm going to explain why I voted aye and why I voted for this and why I was willing to put my name on it. I was one of the individuals that, as this bill was going through to create this Department of Early Childhood, had a lot of meetings with the governor's office and the people who were supposed to be putting together the transition and creating this new department. One of the things that I was promised was that by December of 2022 that their IT system would be in place and that it would be working. Because my concern is, after dealing with things, IT systems like CBMS, chats, trails in the human services world, that we were just going to be running into an IT system that doesn't work. Well, unfortunately, it doesn't work. And the people that suffer from this are our parents and students, and our school districts, and our private providers. So do I like it that they came in and asked for double the money to enhance in year 2 this program? Not really, but I understand that it's something that we must do. So here's what the 3.75 million, I believe is what it was, but approximately, no, 3.25 million is supposed to be doing in year 2, and this is why I voted for this. The improvements planned for year 2 include a pre-registration process for providers working with families who are already connected to those providers. Direct placement for administrative units to place children with disabilities in the program aligned with their IEP. I'll remind you that there were several school districts who sued the governor this year because mostly about IEP and children not being placed appropriately. Improved family application. Program and seat management enhancements for providers. Better access for information, data, and reporting for providers, local coordinating organizations, and administrative units to respond to the needs of families. Providers empowered to be decision maker on student enrollment with increased visibility into data. Yay, that was one of the issues that the school district were suing the state on. Improved matching process and ability to address customer issues. So that is why I voted aye. That's why I would strongly support that you vote to support this. And I will also just say to you, again, your JBC members are extremely prudent. We do hear what is being said. I took to heart what was said at appropriations. And yesterday, when we had the Department of Early Childhood in front of us, who is asking for an additional $3.5 million in the next fiscal year for maintenance of this system, I questioned them extensively, and then we put it on hold until we have the opportunity to have a discussion with our JTC members to make sure that we're all on the same page. So I just want you to know that we are following through. We listen to what you all say, and we are following through on it. But this is important for parents and children so that they can get access to this preschool program that the governor promised full-day universal preschool on. Even though we all don't like that, we may not agree with it, but children and families should not have to suffer through this, and we need these improvements. So I again, encourage an aye vote on this one.
Senator Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, I'm not coming to the mic to urge a no vote on this bill, but it merits concern, expression of concern, and observation of the core problem of all of these supplementals. Not every item in them, but the recurrent themes. The minority leader talked about the theme of ideology running into reality. I'm not sure I have a pithy way to state how government failure, either through miscalculation, misunderstanding, or incompetence, never is visited upon government. It's visited upon our constituents, all of us. This is a perfect example of that. And it rattles through the budget. So if you look at page 78 of your book, which is summary of House Bill 241215, you'll see in the fiscal impact summary, there's $18.9 million from the general fund to the capital construction fund for capital projects. That's all fine, that's great, that's good. That's not what's at issue here. That's not why we're standing here. Those are projects that need to happen. And $3.275 million from the preschool programs cash fund to the IT capital account for information technology projects. Now, if you read that, if you're not part of the JBC caucus, then you might be wondering what that is. So you need to ask your representative member on the JBC caucus what that is. And it turns out that you need to go to another bill. Sorry, they're interconnected. And that other bill is the IT bill. And you find that 3.275, but it's described as 3.3 on page 63 of House Bill 1204. Says this bill includes an increase of $3.3 million from the Capital Construction Fund 1215 to continue development and accelerate improvements to the universal preschool application system. The appropriation is funded with a transfer from the preschool program cash fund included in the capital transfers bill, which is part of the supplemental bill package. The system launched for use in the 2023 application period with a minimum viable product. It's bureaucratic speak for wholly inadequate. That automates much of the matching performed between students and providers. I don't know. I hear lots of side voices about whether I've got that right or not. I don't know. I'm not a member of the JBC caucus, and I'm grateful to them for the work that they do. I truly am. But I think we all, I included, get in a trap here. Things take on a life of their own in government. And you can go to the Department of Public Safety budget and find $7 million for a 30-year problem, and I have to ask, did anybody get called to account for that? Because the taxpayers of Colorado are the ones who got the bill. Make no mistake, in my 40 years as an attorney running my own practice, I've made some errors in calculations about how a case was going to turn out, in terms of whether it would be economically good for me or not. And when I was wrong, the bill landed in my lap. And your businesses and the businesses that employ you, unless you're employed by a government employer, when that happens, it lands in the owner's lap. And if you're an owner, it's your lap. And if you're an employee, it may affect your ability to get a raise or remain employed. The consequences in the private sector are borne by the entities that make the mistakes. In the public sector, the consequences are borne by the public. It's unavoidable. We've heard and hear in appropriations time after time after time, oh, we need $3.3 million because this all didn't work out the way it was supposed to work out. We miscalculated. We hear, oh, for 30 years someone wasn't doing something correctly and we've got to review all of those cases. And we don't know what the impact is going to be. I appreciate the members of the Joint Budget Committee and their diligence. I encourage all of us to be equally so, because when these things don't happen right, the bill doesn't end up in the lap of the people who made the mistake. It ends up in the lap of our constituents. It comes out of other needs, like fulfilling and making up the budget stabilization factor, which new programs and all sorts of things could have dealt with, and all of these errors. Members, there's a lot here in these pages, and the thing about supplementals, perhaps even more than the long bill, there are a lot of things here that are to fix the miscalculations of government. And look, it's inevitable, just in the way that all of us in our businesses make good calculations and sometimes not so good calculations. But it is incumbent upon us to ensure that those who are entrusted with the money are accountable for it and are accountable. And one more thing about the budgeting and procurement and process. Something was said earlier that would indicate, well, the money was encumbered. It was there, it was encumbered. Every public contract, every one of these obligations that the state enters into with anyone has a clause in it. And it says, subject to appropriation by the General Assembly, or words to that effect. So we don't have to do anything. We don't have to approve any of these. We may have no practical choice. I think that's what 1215 and 1204 are about, is in order to get the services to those that we've promised them, children and parents, we have no effective choice. But it is also our obligation to ensure accountability. And I appreciate the senator from Denver raising the issue, because it might have kind of gone by me, because there's a lot here in this book. I urge an aye vote, but I urge your diligence about the competence of government and its accountability to the people in every last dollar. Thank you.
Motion before the body is the adoption of House Bill 1215. Are there any no votes? Senators Van Winkle, With a vote of 29 ayes, 1 no, 0 absent, 5 excused, House Bill 1215 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senators Michelson, Janay, Priola. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Sorry, apologies. Will you please add Senator Fields as a co-sponsor to House Bill 1215? Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will be laying over Senate Bill 17 to the end of the third reading calendar.
The motion is to lay over Senate Bill 17 to the bottom of this third reading of Bill's calendar. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the bill will lay over to the bottom of the calendar. Will the clerk please read the title to House Bill 1204?
House Bill 1204, Representative Byrd, Senator Zenzinger, concerning funding for capital construction, information technology, and making supplemental appropriations in connection therewith.
Senator Zenzinger.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move House Bill 24-1204.
Is there any discussion? Senator Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, members, this is the connection, 1215 and 1204, that $3.3 million moving around. I'm not going to belabor the point. And if we're going to serve children and their parents that we've made a promise to, and for a good program, early childhood education, then we've got to do it. But it ought to be the poster child for why each and every one of us need to be diligent. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Zenzinger.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would also like to add that this particular supplemental does a couple of other things with regard to information technology as well. We are also including an increase of $1.1 million cash funds from institutional sources to support Phase 3 of the Re-envisioning Institution Enterprise Resource Plan for the Colorado School of Mines. That is also part of this particular appropriation and supplemental. We are also extending an appropriation that was set to expire at the end of this year that came out of several bills related to health infrastructure investments, including Senate Bill 21-137, House Bill 22-1278, and Senate Bill 22-177. And this is regarding making sure that we can implement our care coordination and behavioral health data infrastructure. And we are also in this same supplemental addressing some information technology needs for Adams State University, Western Colorado University, and Fort Lewis College. All combined, they went in on a single project known as the Digital Transformation Experience. And this bill includes a revision to that cash fund that allocates money between these three universities. They came together and they hammered out a different formula for the distribution of those funds, and they are coming back to the legislature to ask if they can move forward with that agreement that they hammered out among their institutions. And then lastly, this also contains a appropriation for the Community College of Aurora in order to help them rescope their Improving Student Access Technology project. So I know we had a lot of discussion about the one single piece around the Department of Early Childhood, but this appropriation, the supplemental bill here, also covers many very important technology projects, not just the supplemental for the Department of Education, Early Childhood. So I would encourage an aye vote.
Seeing no further discussion, the motion before the body is the adoption of House Bill 1204. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 30 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, 5 excused, House Bill 1204 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Senators Fields. Will the clerk please read the title to Senate Bill 17?
Senate Bill 17, Senators Lundin and Bridges, Representatives McLaughlin and Pugliese, concerning the distribution amounts made by the state to a school district during the budget year that comprise the state's share of the school district's total program.
Senator Lundin.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, I'm going to take just a moment to express what 17 is about after I move it. So I move Senate Bill 17 on third reading. This is one of those rare bills, doesn't cost us any money. In fact, it saves us some money. It is universally accepted and it's technical in nature. Consider this, you have 12 months worth of expenses and 12 months worth of income, but all the income comes at the end of the 12 months. That's what happens with our local school districts. They have 8 months of expenses that they have to pay before they get to their 2 big months or 3 big months of March, May, and June when they get local property tax income. So what do you do when you're in that circumstance? You either reserve an enormous amount of money from previous years, or you go out and borrow money to cover the cash flow expense over the first 8 months of your year. This bill simply says we're going to even out the state share distribution to reduce the amount of money that the local districts have to go borrow or have to reserve for. What is the net effect of this? We'll save interest costs to the school districts and to the state, and one time only, sounds like a late night TV commercial, doesn't it? One time only, we will have $640 million approximately of money that will be freed up for use in the local school districts to do one-time projects that they need to do. Senate Bill 17 does all of that in only 2 pages. I urge your yes vote.
Senator Bridges.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is an example of good government. This is an example of being responsible with our funds. Previous legislatures identified this challenge, that all the money comes in at the end, and it's tough for school districts to save up enough to spend over the entire rest of the next year. So we created this loan program, this low-interest loan program that actually costs the state tens of millions of dollars every year. And that was our solution. It was great for the school districts, cost us a whole bunch of money. In the context of school funding, when we're talking about billions of dollars, I guess maybe a couple tens of millions of dollars wasn't such a big deal. But we think it's a big deal, and there's a better way to solve this problem. This is spending our dollars wisely. The money has to be spent because good things cost money, education costs money. This is a way to save school districts money. It's a way to save the state money. This is a good bill. Vote yes.
Seeing no further discussion, the motion before the body is the adoption of Senate Bill 17. Are there any no votes?
Yeah, thanks.
With a vote of 30 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, 5 excused, Senate Bill 17 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senators Henriksen, Rich, Van Winkle, Gardner, Liston, Fields, Kirkmeyer, Smallwood, General orders. Second reading of bills. Senator Henriksen.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for the consideration of general orders, second reading of bills.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is adopted. The Senate will resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for the consideration of the general order, second reading of bills, and Senator Henriksen will take the chair.
Yep.
The committee will come to order and the coat rule is relaxed. Majority Leader Rodriguez. Mr. Hubler, will you please read Senate Bill 22.
Senate Bill 22, Senator Malika, Representatives Brown and Velasco, concerning an expansion of the ability of a Board of County Commissioners to regulate tobacco products.
Majority Leader Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move to lay over Senate Bill 22 until Friday, February 16th.
The motion is to lay over Senate Bill 22 until Friday, February 16th. All in favor say aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the bill is laid over. Mr. Hubler, will you please read the title to Senate Bill 99?
Senate Bill 99, Senators Pelton, R., and Marchman, Representatives Winter and McLaughlin, concerning a Public Employees Retirement Association limitations on employment after retirement for a service retiree employed by a rural school.
Senator Marchman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move the Education Committee report for SB 99.
Any discussion on the committee report? Seeing none, the motion is the adoption of the Education Committee report on Senate Bill 99. All in favor say aye. All opposed, no. The aye has it, and the Education Committee report is adopted. To the bill, Senator Marchman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. SB 99 is a temporary extension of our critical shortage provision summary to really help our rural schools. We have rural schools who are struggling to get workforce, including principals and superintendents. And so we know the long-term solution to that is to really build up our principal pipeline with teachers ready to get into leadership in leader schools. In the meantime, we have this opportunity to add them to our critical shortage provision summary. Because it does have some impact on para, we know it's a stopgap, but we're really happy to bring this bill before you today.
Senator Pelton, R.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And this bill idea was actually brought to me by a superintendent in my home county in Kit Carson, 25 miles from where I live. There are a lot of schools out in rural Colorado that need principals and superintendents, and this bill helps if they retire and they want to go back and help those small schools, 1,000 students or less, that they can do it without taking the ding to their para. And with that, I have an amendment.
There is an amendment at the desk. Mr. Hubler, will you please read L004?
L004, amendment printed bill,
Senator
page
Pelton,
2.
R.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I move Amendment L004.
To the amendment.
Thank you. There was a question brought up in committee around some language on page 3 that wasn't clarified to match statute language for some bills that had already been run and put into statute around teachers and stuff. So this bill just cleans up that. There was a concern from Senator Kolker over that language, and so this bill, or this amendment, helps clean that up. And I urge an aye vote.
Senator Marchman.
Thank you, and I appreciate you bringing that forward. I too urge an aye vote on L004.
Seeing no further discussion, the motion is the adoption of L004. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and L004 is adopted. To the bill, Senator Pelton, R.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I have another amendment.
There is an amendment. At the desk, Mr. Hubler, will you please read Amendment L005?
L005, amendment printed
Senator
bill, page 2.
Pelton, R.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This amendment just brings the other workers that are in statute in line with the language of the last amendment, which includes teachers, school bus drivers, school food service cooks, school nurses, superintendents, principals, and qualified paraprofessionals. So I'd urge an aye vote.
Senator Marchman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I too urge an aye vote on L005 to bring this in line. Thank you.
The motion is the adoption of L005. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and L005 is adopted. To the bill. Senator Peltonar.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and with these amendments, I think this makes this a very good bill to help rural Colorado out in a time of need with the workforce shortage around the superintendent and principal roles. So I'd urge an aye vote on the bill.
Seeing no further discussion, the motion is the adoption of Senate Bill 99. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and Senate Bill 99 is adopted. Majority Leader Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move the committee rise and report.
The motion before the committee is to rise and report. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the committee will rise and report.
The Senate will come to order. Senator Hendrickson.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee has met and had a bill under consideration. Mr. Hubler, will you please read the report?
February 15, 2024. Mr. President, your committee of the whole begs leave to report it has had under consideration the following attached bills, being the second reading thereof, and makes the following recommendations thereon. Senate Bill 99 is amended, passed on second reading, and ordered engrossed and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. Senate Bill 22 laid over until February 16 and retaining its place in the calendar.
Senator Hendrickson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of the report.
The motion is the adoption of the Committee of the Whole report. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 30 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, 5 excused, Committee of the Whole report is adopted. Senate Bill 99 is amended, passed on second reading and ordered engrossed and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. Senate Bill 22 laid over until 2/16 and retaining its place on the calendar. Introduction of bills.
Senate Bill 160, Senators Fenberg and Lundin, Representatives McCluskey and Pugliese, concerning records related to complaints of discriminatory workplace practices. House Bill 1067.
State Veterans Military Affairs.
House Bill 1067, Representatives Ortiz and Bradley, Senator Winter, concerning ballot access for candidates with disabilities.
State Veterans Military Affairs.
House Bill 1143, Representative Catlin, Senators Winter F. and Pelton B., concerning construction bidding cost thresholds for Department of Transportation projects.
Transportation and Energy. Message from the Governor.
January 25th, 2024, ladies and gentlemen, pursuant to the powers conferred upon me by the Constitution and laws of the state of Colorado, I have the honor to designate, reappoint, and submit to your consideration the following member of the State Housing Board, effective February 1, 2024, for a term expiring January 31, 2028. LaDon Sperling of Thornton, Colorado, to serve as a Republican resident of the 7th Congressional District, reappointed.
Oh, local government housing. Message from the House.
February 15, 2024, the House has passed on third reading and transmitted to the Revisor of Statutes. House Bill 1155, the House has passed on third reading and transmitted to the Revisor of Statutes. House Bill 1033 is amended and printed in the House Journal February 14, 2024.
Message from the Revisor.
February 15, 2024, we herewith transmit without comment House Bill 1033 without comment as amended House Bill 1155.
Consideration of governor's appointments. Consent calendar. Will the clerk please read the appointment listed on the consent calendar?
Member of the Board of Trustees for Adams State University, effective January 1, 2024, for a term expiring December 31, 2027, Ann Trujillo of Denver, Colorado, appointed.
Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the confirmation of the appointment listed in the consent calendar, which includes a member of Board of Trustees for Adams State University, Ann Trujillo of Denver.
Is there any discussion? The motion is the confirmation of the appointment on the consent calendar. Are there any no votes? With 30 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, 5 excused, the appointment is confirmed. Announcements. Mr. Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, wonder is all around us. Consider the beautiful clear blue skies and sunny day that God has delivered to us, or the kindness in the hearts of your colleagues. There is also, created by man, beautiful architecture nearby. Across the street, there's a very attractive building, a Georgian Revival style of architecture, the First Baptist Church. Sits just to the east of the JBC Caucus's main headquarters. It is the First Baptist Church. And meeting there today at noon will be the National Association of Insurance and Financial Advisors. And they would like to break bread with you. And I'm sure they will have plenty of bread to break with you because they are, after all, the National Association of Insurance and Financial Advisors. So I would encourage you to go sometime this noon hour across the street to that beautiful little Georgian Revival style architecture building, the First Baptist Church. Make your way to the basement and meet some very good people who work very hard to make all of our lives better. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Mullica.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, Senate Finance Committee will meet upon adjournment in 3:57, and so we'll say 5 minutes after we gavel out. And then after that, we are meeting as a joint Finance Committee to have a conversation with the Department of Revenue. Look forward to seeing you there.
Senator Fields. Senator Fields.
Thank you, Mr. President, colleagues. The Senate State Health and Human Services Committee will meet at 1:30 today. We have some adjustment in our calendar. We're just going to hear 2 bills. We will not be hearing Senate Bill 082.
Senator Exum.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, Senate Local Government Housing will be meeting upon adjournment, 10 minutes upon adjournment, room 352. We have 3 bills to hear. Thank you.
Senator Coleman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, Senate State Veteran Military Affairs Committee will be meeting today at 1:30 in the Old Supreme Court. We'll be hearing members of the Board of Commissioner Veteran Community Living Centers. We will not be hearing Senate Bill 72. We are laying that over to a later date. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Danielson.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Agriculture and Natural Resources Committee will, oh, I'm so sorry.
Senator Hackers-Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. President. A moment of personal privilege or maybe an announcement, I'm not sure which.
Either way, it's great.
Okay, that works for me. I just wanted to, in consultation with the President, the Majority Leader, the Minority Leader, I will not get to see you all tomorrow. My mother is celebrating her 91st birthday, hoping that means good genes. So I will not, yes, I want to sing too. Lots of candles, and so I will not see you tomorrow. Thank you.
Senator Danielson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Sorry about that. The Business, Labor, and Technology Committee will meet on adjournment in the Old Supreme Court. We'll be taking up Senate Bill 48, and that is the only measure on the agenda today.
Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate adjourn until 9 a.m. Friday, February 16th, 2024.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the Senate will adjourn until 9 a.m. tomorrow.